going to begin with a panel and give everybody a chance, to intervene and say, if you have an opinion, a perspective that you want to put forth, to begin with that. So, Dr. Hofstad, you've been traveling a lot to Africa. You've had a chance to be in Cote d'Ivoire and all this. You know, I'm pretty sure, a lot about the mess that's going on and all this. What say you? What can we do?
Okay, I want to say something and look at this from the perspective of education.
Sure.
And by education, I don't just simply mean classroom, sitting in the classroom, listening to a professor, or looking at books and that kind of thing. It's a comprehensive notion of education, because African people had education systems before colonialism. And so the idea here is, as my brother just said, independence came, or was given, as the case might be, which is suspect in and of itself, because when liberty is given, there is always a string attached to it. The great Frederick Douglass said, that power exceeds nothing without a demand. And when power exceeds something, and there hasn't been a demand, then that would be scanned, to refer to Shakespeare's Hamlet again. We need to look at that. Oh, when education is not shaped by a national agenda, it cannot address the needs of the society. Thus, a colonially inspired education system cannot properly address the needs of Africa. Essentially, this is what we have. From the university level all the way down to primary schools. And that's what I've seen in my travels, in my work, in my scholarship, and so on across the continent. And that is a thing that has continued to perplex me, and I think that is one of the things that we in the diaspora, and that all people on the continent will have to address first and foremost. Dr. John Henry Clarke and other great minds, and if you just conquer the mind, or that is to capture the mind, the body will follow. And if indeed what we have in our minds and what we're implanting in the minds of our children, our African children, is a colonial mentality, a colonial mythology, that what is right and correct comes from Europe or the United States, or America, Euro-America that is, then this is a problem. I've actually had conversations with colleagues in some countries that I won't name, not Cote d'Ivoire, unfortunately, but who talked about, well, we were this way or the other, and then civilization came. And I said, okay, what do you mean by when civilization came? I mean, I thought that all humanity began on the continent of Africa, and that goes back way beyond 1 million years. Or we took, or Homo sapiens sapiens, at least 50,000 years. So there had to be some kind of civilization at that point. So, so I want to say, in terms of education, it's the language, it's the definitions, because if the definitions control you, then that is what that's what you are. If somebody else is the one who is giving you the definitions, then that is the thing that controls us. It's just like the way this crisis is being represented in language right now in Cote d'Ivoire. It's being rendered as this against this. It's reduced to some small soundbite kind of thing. It just represents this thing against that particular thing, or miscalling what's happening in North Africa as an Arab conflict or whatever the case might be. And where we go wrong is not calling people on, as my grandmother would say, calling me out of my name. That's a black Southern expression. You don't call people out of their name and without repercussions. So in essence, this is where we are. First thing we have to do is decide. And certainly there are efforts like that on the continent already. How do we get control of our education? This is easy said, and easier said by somebody like me maybe than done. But I think that what we were in the process of doing, myself and my group and the NGO group in Cote d'Ivoire, lends itself to that, because students were being we're having workshops that looked at things broader than just subject matter, that is the status quo subject matter and so on. So what is it, what is it that the citizenry of Cote d'Ivoire needs? When a person marches out at the end of the time, with the back, what have we produced? What is that product that has been produced? And I think my brother, the scientist, can appreciate it. What have we, what have we created? Is it somebody that's going to now look at my obligation to render service? Do I now do our graduates of African universities come out with the notion that I'm now ready to render service to my country that educated me, to my community, and so on? Or do we have another notion that's implanted by your Eurocentric vision, which says, now you sort of go for yourself and do your own individual thing, which of course needs to be done, yes, because individuals have talents, they're unique, and those kinds of things need to be fostered. So the dynamic of education, of who controls the minds, because that's all any oppressor needs to do is control the mind. And then that makes us believe, and we make it a reality that there's something wrong with my brother because of this or that or the other, simply because I have been taught to see him as something different. Let me just say about democracy, and because that's what we're supposed to be talking about. Africa had constitutions before colonialism. I hope we remember that. There were constitutions written and that were afoot, alive, and well in the great Ghana and Manding kingdoms already. Okay, those were constitutions long before Columbus, quote unquote, discovered America. So what was that about? Women were given rights under those constitutions. In the traditional society, women helped select who the king was, and no king got into power without the say-so of the queen mothers or that body, that committee that elected the king and put him in place. Okay, so there are structures there. There were organizations, the military, everything that we have today. We have a military. There was a military there. But here's what I observed, and I don't, I want to remember that I'm not, lecturing to my class, but opening up a potential dialogue. Here's what I observed, and that's, I think is totally overlooked, and I don't know how we can use it, but I think it's there, and it's crucial for us to look at. Underneath what I observed, and I could be wrong, but I don't think so. What I observed is underneath the state structure of all of these countries that are independent is the old system of kingship. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm going to get some help from my colleagues who are here. Okay. Underneath all is what I observed in Burkina Faso. It's what I observed in Benin. It's what I observed in Ghana. Okay.